For over 10,000 galactic cycles, the Kraylan Dominion stood as the most powerful civilization among the stars. Their fleets numbered in the tens of thousands, each vessel a fortress of energy and alloy. Entire star systems bowed under their banners, their warlords proud, their scholars unrivaled, their history carved into the very fabric of galactic law. The Kraylan called themselves the apex of evolution, believing that no species could match their intellect, strength, or mastery of technology. When the Dominion's explorers first discovered the spiral arm containing Sol, they dismissed it as unremarkable. A cluster of primitive worlds, a handful of faint signals, and one blue planet bearing the marks of an early Type 1 civilization. The Council of Warlords laughed when they saw the images: metal ships bound by fuel, weapons firing chemical propellants, creatures bound to gravity and atmosphere. To them, Earth was a curiosity at best, a backwater at worst. But curiosity led to arrogance, and arrogance led to action. A Kraylan scout frigate entered the Sol system. It recorded transmissions, scanned the planet's defenses, and sent its report home. The message concluded with 3 words that would echo through the ages: potential minimal threat. A week later, the Kraylan fleet moved to claim Earth. They descended without warning. Cities around the globe saw the dark silhouettes of their carriers blotting out the sun. Governments panicked. Military channels filled with static and fear. Satellites blinked offline one after another. The Kraylan made no demands, no negotiation. They simply expected surrender. To them, it was routine conquest. But something happened that they did not predict. Within minutes of their first orbital strike, the fleet's targeting systems began to fail. Communications jammed. Sensors flickered. One by one, their ships lost connection to command. The Kraylan admiral on the flagship issued orders in rising frustration, his voice cold and precise. Yet across the armada, nothing responded. Then a voice, calm, steady, unmistakably human, echoed through their channels. "Leave orbit immediately." The admiral froze. "Identify yourself," he demanded, his voice filtered through layers of static. "Human Defense Command," came the reply. "This is your first and only warning." The Kraylan laughed at the audacity. A species barely touching the edge of interplanetary travel, threatening the most powerful empire in the galaxy. The admiral gave a simple command: proceed. The fleet resumed its assault. Seconds later, the flagship's forward batteries overloaded and exploded. A cascade of energy rippled through its hull, tearing the vessel apart. The Kraylan bridge crew stared in horror as the wreckage drifted across their view screens. No weapon had fired upon it. No projectile struck. It had simply imploded as though its own systems turned against it. Panic swept through the ranks. In orbit, small dark shapes emerged from behind Earth's moon. They were unlike any known design, sleek, angular, black as void. No registry codes, no transponder signals. The Kraylan sensors couldn't lock on. Every attempt to scan returned a blur of interference. The human voice spoke again. "You were told to leave." The unknown vessels moved with impossible precision. Beams of coherent light sliced through Kraylan armor like paper. Pulse rounds detonated before sensors could even track their trajectory. Within minutes, half the fleet was gone. The Kraylan who survived fled toward Mars, only to find their engines failing, their navigation collapsing into chaos. It was as if space itself turned against them. The admiral screamed for retreat, but none escaped. When the battle ended, the skies over Earth were quiet again. The strange human ships disappeared into the void. And on Earth, news agencies broadcast a simple announcement, one the galaxy would remember forever. Humanity is safe. Do not attempt again. The Dominion Council met in secret sessions for cycles afterward. They replayed every fragment of sensor data, every image, every anomaly. Their scientists argued endlessly. No known weapon could disable their fleet like that. No known interference could twist their systems to self-destruct. And no known power in the galaxy could appear and vanish without trace. One scholar suggested that humanity had access to ancient technology from a precursor race. Another proposed that humans had mastered forms of quantum warfare beyond the Dominion's understanding. The Council dismissed both ideas as superstition, but unease spread. The Kraylan had always defined history through victory. Yet for the first time they faced silence. A single defeat they could not explain. Years passed. The Dominion avoided Earth's sector. Traders whispered of human probes beyond Jupiter, of strange stations appearing near wormholes. The Kralin ignored these stories, convincing themselves that humans had retreated into isolation. Then, a signal reached the outer colonies. It was faint, encoded, and ancient in structure. When decrypted, it revealed a simple phrase in human language: "We are coming." The Dominion thought it was a hoax, but within weeks, deep space sensors detected movement along the Perseus frontier. Not one or two vessels, hundreds. Entire fleets emerging from dark zones where no known civilization could exist. The Kralin scrambled their defenses. The first human fleet entered Kralin space without warning. Their ships were small compared to Dominion battleships, but moved like predators in water. Energy weapons danced along their hulls, shielding them from every counterattack. Kralin vessels disintegrated before firing a second shot. Planets went silent. Entire systems vanished from the Dominion map, and then came the message, broadcast across every Kralin channel, every world, every mind: "We do not seek conquest, but we remember." For the first time, the Kralin realized the scale of their mistake. The species they had dismissed as primitive was not merely defending, it was rewriting the order of the galaxy. The humans did not occupy. They dismantled. Wherever they went, they freed enslaved species, shattered warlords, erased centuries of oppression. Their fleets carried both mercy and terror, choosing which to deliver with quiet precision. Galactic historians would later debate when exactly humanity surpassed the Kralin. Some said it happened the moment the first human ship defied their sensors. Others said it was when the Dominion capital fell without a single drop of blood spilled. Because humans had already hacked every system, shut down every weapon, and spoken directly to every citizen. When the Kralin Emperor surrendered, he did not see soldiers. He saw a single human representative walk through the palace gates unarmed. The Emperor expected arrogance, vengeance, or demands. Instead, the human offered a choice. "You may join us," he said, "or stand alone." The Emperor bowed his head. "Join you in what?" "In balance," came the answer. And thus the Dominion became the first member of the human alliance. Decades later, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. Human technology spread quietly, reshaping trade, governance, and communication. War declined. Exploration flourished. Entire species once isolated by fear began to collaborate. Yet the memory of the first encounter lingered, because beneath the peace, everyone knew the truth. Humanity had chosen restraint. In hidden archives, Kralin scholars studied fragments of human data shared under strict treaty terms. They found evidence of impossible energy manipulation, matter compression beyond theoretical limits, and gravitational control that defied known physics. Every discovery led to more questions, none with answers. One archivist wrote, "We do not understand how they rose so fast. It is as if they were waiting." And he was right. Long before the Kralin fleet first entered Sol, humanity had been preparing. Centuries of conflict on Earth had forced them to adapt, to think faster, build smarter, and survive anything. When the first orbital colonies formed, humans learned to engineer entire ecosystems. When wars nearly ended civilization, they rebuilt stronger. When they reached the stars, they carried with them not arrogance but resolve. They watched the galaxy quietly, unseen, learning. They mapped the politics, the power struggles, the empires. They saw what dominance did to civilizations. And when the Kralin arrived, humanity finally revealed the side it had kept hidden, a unity forged by hardship. It wasn't the weapons that terrified the galaxy. It was the mind behind them. Humans saw patterns where others saw chaos. They turned enemies' technology into tools. They used data like oxygen, invisible but vital. Every defeat they suffered in history became a lesson. Every scar, a blueprint. When humanity stepped onto the galactic stage, the universe realized too late that the strongest species wasn't the one that conquered. It was the one that endured. A century after the first contact, a new monument stood in the Kralin capital. It bore no human name, no flag, only a single phrase carved in both languages. Strength is not domination. Strength is understanding. Children of both species studied together, fleets trained side by side. And yet, every commander, every admiral, every scholar remembered the first day, the day the Kralin fleet vanished over Earth, because no one ever found the wreckage. No signal, no debris, no record remained. It was as if the human defense forces had erased them from existence. When asked why, Human historians always gave the same answer: to remind the galaxy that power is a choice. Centuries later, when new civilizations rose and old ones faded, a legend persisted. It told of the day the mightiest empire met the quiet species from the blue world. It told of the moment history changed direction, not through destruction but revelation. For the Kraylan, it was a story of humility. For the rest of the we,